What I have here today is actually the Pathfinder 2 Playtest rulebook. We actually got a full-blown book. We're planning on playing Pathfinder 2 this weekend, me and my game group, and so we made some characters. And the character sheets are pretty complicated, as you would expect a character sheet to be, but what I wanted to really point out about the Pathfinder 2 system was how they do ability scores. Instead of rolling or doing point buy, they actually have everyone start out with just a flat 10. Then you choose what they call your ancestry. Traditionally, that would be your humans, your gnomes, your halflings, your dwarves, things like that. That would then give you they call it an ability score boost. And you add those by adding 2 to the 10 for each time you get a boost. So for instance, let's see, I'm playing a gnome, so my boosts go to my constitution and my charisma, which means now I have a 10 in strength, a 10 in dexterity, a 12 in constitution, a 10 in intelligence, a 10 in wisdom, and a 12 in charisma. I also have to take a flaw, an ability flaw, which actually means that I'm taking a -2 to 1 stat. And that would pretty much be the only time I'll take a flaw in the entire game. And so for gnomes, it's strength. So now I'm starting with an 8 in strength, 10 across the board, except for charisma and constitution. As part of my ancestry choice, I also get a free boost. So I get to put that wherever I want. Since I'm planning on playing as a druid, I put that into my wisdom. Then I get to choose my background. I'll generally choose something that bonuses to my wisdom because I want to play a high wisdom character because I'm playing a druid. But I believe actually all backgrounds give you another free boost. So I can choose whatever I want, get like a boost to my strength if I wanted to, if I want to bring that up over an 8. I could get a boost to just about anything and then get that free boost and put it into my wisdom. From there, I get 4 more boosts. Now each boost bumps it by 2, so if you know how ability scores work, that means that the bonus that you get from the ability score goes up by 1. And you can only boost all the way up to 18 for any given score, so that's just for starting players, that's just for starting characters. Once you get to points where you can boost above that, you boost only by 1 point instead of 2 points, meaning that it's kind of like a half of a modifier each time you boost it, which I actually kind of really like. So we get 4 free boosts that can go anywhere. Now, each time I get boosts, they can't stack. So those 4 free boosts, they can't all be in wisdom. They can't all be in 1 stat. So like the charisma bonus I got from being a gnome can boost it once, and then I can also get a charisma bonus from my background that can boost it again, but I can't do like my free boosts can stack on top of my other boosts that I get from a specific source. So then I apply those 4 boosts, and so now I've got, my dex goes up so I can get better AC, my intelligence goes up so I can get some more skills, things like that, and then I always make sure I bump my wisdom. And then when you choose your class, the actual class, you get a bump to the key ability that you're going to use. So for druids, I get a bump to my wisdom, which to me is like the best part of all of this, because we've all played Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder or all these D20 systems, and you get, maybe you're rolling dice or you're doing your point buy, and you end up doing like as best you can, but you still only get like one of those 18s. You only get 1 good stat, and that has to go into that stat that you use the most in your class, whatever that happens to be, whether it's strength or you're a barbarian or you want to be a rogue, so it's dex or whatever you're doing. And I like the fact that you basically receive a bonus by getting that specific class rather than having to like give the bonus to that class, if that makes any sense. Because it implies that by me wanting to become a druid or by training to be a druid, I will already invest myself into getting a higher wisdom. Or if I'm a sorcerer, I might have charisma or intelligence for a wizard, or there's just different abilities for different classes. And in here, there's all kinds of different options. The thing that some people may shy away from is the idea that everybody's going to have an 18, maybe a 16, 2 14s, a 12, and an 8, or something like that. Or everyone's going to have basically the same ability scores if you're not rolling or if you're not doing point buy. Everyone's going to get the same boosts everywhere. And everyone's going to get even numbers, so you will have the ability modifiers from the get. You're not going to be sitting on odd numbers. And I think that in some cases that's true. You are going to get a lot of like sameness amongst characters, but once you delve a little bit further into the book, you'll see that each ancestry gets its own feat. So as like a gnome, there's like 4 or 5 different feats I can take at level 1 to make my gnome different from your gnome. So even if we're playing both gnomes, even if we're both playing gnome druids, my gnome could be totally different. My druid could be wildly different as well. I could specialize in my animal companion. You could specialize in your wild form, wild shape. But that's even true for like fighters and barbarians and all kinds of different, all the other different classes. So like the barbarian might not actually focus too heavily on their rage ability and start working on their cleave ability, which is multiple, strikes in succession. And the fighter might be focused on doing ranged attacks while the ranger is more focused on their magic abilities. Like you could make an actual adventuring party that is like 3 fighters and 2 clerics, and it would feel like every character is different, despite the fact that the ability scores are almost exactly the same across players, because the ability scores in these games, they don't mean as much as they feel like they should mean. When you're starting at level 1 and you want to roll your stats, or you're starting at an early level and you want to make this like grand character, the stats really do matter. They give you a starting point, essentially. But once the game progresses, they become less and less necessary, and I think that Pathfinder really doubled down on that by making them all sort of powerful. Like, you get these great stats at the beginning, but by the time that they stop being the defining factor of your character, you kind of forget that they were even there. You bump them when you need the bump to up your armor class or your damage output or whatever you're doing, but at the same time, they are not who you are. The feats, the other choices you make are who you are, and I don't feel like older D20 systems have effectively really pushed that out there, that you can be a different character with lower or different stats, or if you all have the same stats, you can still be quite different. And I think Pathfinder really does that. I'm excited to get to play it this weekend. I'm hoping that I would have another thoughts video about our playthrough, just to see where we go with it. So hopefully I'll be back to talk more about Pathfinder. And thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more of our videos, feel free to hit that subscribe button down in the corner. Make sure you hit the bell icon too, so you can get notified when we release new videos just like this one.